We are here on a permanency review after final order. Mr. Alvey's with us for the department. Mr. Burris, father is with us. Miss Cedar, the mother, is with us. Julie Burke, I don't know if she's still an intervenor or not. She is not with us. Miss Grant represents the child. She is not with us. And then I don't know. Oh,
I'm here, Jeff.
Oh, there she is. All right. Miss Grant is with us. And then let me get Miss Talley in for the CASA. We'll go ahead and get started. Mr. Alvey, you may proceed.
Thank you. How long has he been in that group home?
Couple of years now.
And how's he doing in that home?
He's doing all right. Tommy's had a few issues here and there, but nothing too serious.
And is he receiving appropriate medical, dental, and mental health care at the home?
Yes.
Any special issues outside of just some behaviors for a teenage foster child that we need to bring to the court's attention?
No.
All right. Tommy's mother is Miss Rachel Cedar, and she resides in Oklahoma City.
Correct.
And has she been attempting to work some services to be able to have Tommy placed in her home?
Yes, she lacks her psychological. We have been trying to work on that since the last court hearing. Being she's in Oklahoma, she had an appointment this month, beginning of April. She went to it. They wouldn't accept her insurance. Recently, in the last week or two, I have gotten them in touch with our service providers, try to get them contracted so we could try to get that taken care of for her.
In the meantime, has she been attempting to exercise regular visits with Tommy?
Being that she's in Oklahoma without a car, it's hard for her to do in person, but she has tried to do virtual. We've had some issues with the placement's internet, but she has.
Has she made any face-to-face visits with Tommy?
She's had one, but it's been a while. It was like last summer.
Okay. And are there any face-to-face visits scheduled at this time?
No.
Okay. And a lot of that's because Miss Cedar is, with her transportation issues are iffy, to say the least.
Yes. Well, and her being, 4 or 5 hours away.
But it's still kind of the goal at this point in time to try to reunite Tommy with his mother.
Yes.
And there have been, throughout the length of this case, there have been times when Miss Cedar has had addiction issues. And are we monitoring that and making sure that those don't resurface at this time?
Yes, I send her monthly for drug screens. Plus, she drug screens through Hope in Oklahoma. I don't get the results, but she lets me know when she's going.
Tommy's father is Tommy Burris Sr.
Correct.
Okay. And we've not had a whole lot of contact with Dad in some time, correct?
Correct.
Has he been attempting to make contact with you either through text or telephone calls or emails or in any form or fashion?
No. And I've tried to reach out to him and haven't been able to.
And in fact, we filed a motion to modify the final order in this case, but we have not been able to find Mr. Burris in any particular place to have him served.
Correct.
But with and he's not had any contact with Tommy, right?
That's correct. We had set up some virtual several months back. He got on one and that was it.
So under the current circumstances, it's contrary to Tommy Jr.'s general welfare to return him to either parent. And in fact, it would not be safe currently to send him home to either parent at this time.
Right.
So you're asking that the court continue Tommy Jr.'s placement with the group home in Amarillo and under the temporary or permanent managing conservatorship of the department.
Yes.
And that's in Tommy's.
Yes. I mean, I'm sorry, I can interrupt. If the court wants to submit for another ICPC, we can do that. But the last one was denied. She has worked on a lot of the stuff that she needed to get. That part of the reason why it was denied, just lacks the psychological.
And then we talked about that. That's what we were working on, trying to get all those services taken care of so that we could start trying to reunite them.
Yes.
And that would, though the judge may not think it's necessary for an ICPC home study, St. Francis and the department's policy is that we want an ICPC home study.
Correct.
Thank you. I'll pass it with Ms. Shore.
All right, thank you, Ms. Grant.
Ms. Corbett, Tommy Jr. is reporting that his current medications seem to be helping and are at the right levels. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you know off the top of your head when his next medication review would be?
No, he has a monthly though.
Okay. And how's school going?
The last I heard last month, he was failing 2 classes.
Okay. Do you remember which 2 that is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. Is there any tutoring or extra help that we could get set up for Tommy to get his grades up to speed in those 2 subjects?
There is tutoring. Tommy refuses to go.
Okay.
May I say something real fast?
In a minute, you can. Tommy, I'll give you a chance to talk here in a minute.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so the main concerns right now are grades and school, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Corbett, if I read in the CASA report that at one time Tommy was failing 4 classes and he's now only failing 1, would you dispute that?
Last month told me he was failing 2.
Okay. At one time he was failing 4, but he's brought that down, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Tommy, let me ask first, Mr. Alley, do you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, I do not.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Cedar, did you have any questions for Ms. Corbett? Do you have any questions for her?
Okay, no, the only thing that I had a question about is just the psychological. That's really it that we're just having an issue doing. I don't have a problem with doing it or getting it done. It's just because of it being international, it's just been so hard. And I've had 2 appointments, but they both failed because of the $3,000 they're wanting to do it, or my medical is not covering because it's court ordered.
Yeah. Okay. I understand that. And it sounds like the court's certainly not blaming you for that. This happens quite often when parents are in another state. So I realize that everybody's working to try and get that done. So appreciate that. Okay. Tommy, you had asked to say something. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay. Yes, sir. So on the grade thing, I have been going to tutoring. I went for my algebra before my STAR test, and then I started going after it as well, and I got all my grades up.
Good. Are you going to have to go to summer school for anything?
I don't know just yet. I think I might have to because of last semester.
Okay. As far as your medications, Tommy, are you satisfied with them? You think they're helping you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're seeing somebody at least every month about those medications?
Yes, sir.
All right. You understand you're old enough, you're 16, you're old enough to have a big say-so in what your medications are. So anytime you feel like they're off, let someone know, either at the children's home or let Miss Grant know, anybody with St. Francis or the department. We can always order another evaluation if you think they need to be looked at, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, sir. That is it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You're free to come. If you want to attend all these hearings, just let them know, and we'll be sure that you're in on all of our hearings.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, then. If no one else has any other witnesses, then Ms. Grant, recommendations?
Your Honor, I think current placement is meeting Tommy's needs. I know that he would, also like to see that psychological get done so that he could move and be where he wants to be. But for now, we're status quo, I believe.
All right.
And I've sent Tommy a reminder in the chat function as to my office number in case he ever needs to call for anything, to be sure he has.
Okay. All right, then. Ms. Talley, does CASA have anything to add?
Nothing other than we're really proud of Tommy for the hard work he's done from August of last year till this year. So,
Yeah.
And both parties. So we're really excited. We hope this continues to move towards reunification.
Yeah.
And however that can then work, that's really what Tommy wants. So.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Tommy, I should have said it, but I'm very proud of what you've done as far as your schooling. So just keep up the hard work.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, then. I will continue the department as permanent managing conservator, continue the parents as possessory conservators. I'll continue Tommy Jr.'s placement. I'll go ahead and order the ICPC home study on Miss Cedar. I think everybody knows if we were in a position where we were ready to send Tommy home to his mom and we don't have that ICPC back, I don't think the court's bound by that. So that would not be an impediment to send him home before we get an ICPC back. Okay. That will conclude this hearing. For those of you involved, I'll be back here at 11 o'clock to call a Wheeler County case. That's a motion to participate on the Howard child. Otherwise, we'll stand in recess. Y'all have a good rest of your week and a good weekend.
When's the next court hearing?
Oh, sorry, didn't announce that. Yeah, our next hearing, I'll schedule it for October 16th, 2024. Parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance to see what time we'll have that hearing. If we're in a position we need to have a hearing to get something done prior to that, just notify my office and we'll move it up. We're here on a final hearing. Mr. Alvey's with us for the department. Ms. Ledbetter's with us representing CASA. Ms. Kincaid is with us representing the child. Ms. Lucero is with us representing the alleged father, Jason Childress, who is not in the waiting room. Mr. Michelson's with us representing an unknown father. And Mr. Pirtle's with us representing Ms. Tucker, who is also with us. I have Tori Cook in the waiting room.
I need her, Your Honor, please.
Okay. While we're waiting for her, I've read in the report that I guess the department wants to extend this case. Is that correct, Mr. Alvey?
It is, Your Honor. We filed a motion, I believe. It's on file with the court to extend it.
Okay. Let's just start with that. I've read I think I know what the reasoning is. Does anybody object to that?
No
No,
objection.
Your Honor, I don't object.
Okay. Mr. Michelson, I guess you don't really
Yeah,
have a dog in the fight.
not really, but I have
Okay.
no objection.
Okay. Once we get started, Mr. Alvey, I'll let you briefly tell me the reason for the extension. I think I know what it is, but okay, now she's with. All right, Mr. Alvey, if you could just briefly tell me the reason for the motion to extend.
In this particular case, Your Honor, Ms. Tucker has been, soon after the child's removal, she moved to Oklahoma and she has been diligently working services. We've not been able to complete all of those services due to there's some constraints with caregivers in Oklahoma. She's having to pay for some. We're having to find some extra things. So we've just not been able to complete all of her services yet, but we are on the process of doing that. We would ask that because she's made a good faith effort that we, to complete those services, that we allow a little extra time to give her the opportunity to finish all of them before we make this a final.
Okay. And I also read, I think Costa noted a concern about a positive drug test in December after she'd been testing routinely negative. Is that also part of the reason?
It could be, Your Honor. She's been negative now for some time, but we haven't got full 6 months. So
Okay.
As per policy, we
Okay.
would ask for a full 6 months.
All right. Well, as everybody's well aware of the change in the law, obviously Ms. Tucker has made a good faith effort to complete her services, and she needs a little additional time to do so. So I'll obviously grant the extension because I don't think I have any choice, even if I didn't want to. But I think that's fair grounds to extend the case. So I will grant that motion, and I will extend the case and retain the case on the court's docket. Okay, that having been said, then we'll treat today's hearing as a permanency hearing. And Mr. Alvey, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call Ms. Tori Cook. And where is she currently placed?
She is in a foster home in Canyon, Texas.
And is that placement meeting all of her needs at this time?
Yes, sir.
Are there any special issues that have arisen or special needs with this child that we need to make the court aware of?
No, sir.
Lesley's mother is Susan Tucker.
Yes.
Ms. Tucker was ordered to work services, and soon after the child was removed from her, she moved to Oklahoma. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And has she been working the services that were set forth in her service plan that she was ordered to work?
Yes, she has.
Are there any specific services that she has not completed at this time?
No, we were able to get a familiar to an OSAR in Oklahoma. We actually did get that completed, and there were no further recommendations. So all services besides some family counseling is what we're waiting on, just the family counseling.
Okay. And is there a family counselor that has been scheduled?
There's one that she's on the waiting list for. Yes, sir.
Okay. And do we know when that might start?
Yes, I'm hoping by next week, I believe, is the first availability. So
Okay. That would benefit both Lesley and Miss Tucker, to make sure that the reunion with them would be without hitch, correct?
yes.
In addition, as policy for St. Francis Ministries, we've asked for an ICPC home study to be done on Miss Tucker. What's the status of that?
Yes, we have requested that. It was requested in October and we've sent multiple follow-ups. I assume that should be coming back to us at any time now.
Okay. When was the last time that you had a drug screen for Miss Tucker?
My last drug screen completed was February 12th.
Are you asking for the court to order Miss Tucker to drug screen today?
Yes, sir.
What type of drug screens are you asking for today?
We would like both a urinalysis and a hair follicle.
In the meantime, because we still lack a few things getting this case finished, specifically the family counseling between Miss Tucker and her child, would you agree with me that it would be contrary to the general welfare of Lesley to return her to Susan today?
Yes, sir. And I did want to add, we do have a another ICPC on a fictive kin, also from Oklahoma, that is currently being done. We haven't received that back yet, so.
We can't place with a fictive kin for sure without an ICPC home study, correct?
Yes, sir.
So would you also agree with me that it would not be safe to return Lesley to her mother today?
Yes, sir.
Are you asking then that the court continue the department as temporary managing conservator and that we extend the case for additional 6 months, but we hope we will have some kind of resolution prior to 6 months?
Yes, sir.
That's what you're doing.
All right, thank you. Let's see, Mr. Pirtle.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Cook, am I correct in thinking that if Ms. Tucker signs her rights over or does a voluntary relinquishment of parental rights, she could have in their language who she wants the child placed with, but the department's not required to follow that. Am I correct in that?
I'm not sure I can answer that.
Okay.
But Todd is saying yes, so.
Pardon me?
It looks like Todd is agreeing with you. Yes, sir.
That's great. And then, so has she talked to you about signing a voluntary relinquishment of parental rights?
Yes, we talked about that, and we went over that, and I believe we decided against it.
Okay. I pass the witness.
All right. Before I forget to ask Ms. Cook, since she is in Oklahoma, how long do you need? How much time do we need to give her to get those drug tests complete?
I met with her yesterday and she said that she'd be able to go today.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Mr. Michelson, questions?
Questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Lucero.
Just a few, Your Honor. Ms. Cook, have you had any contact with Mr. Childress?
I have not, no ma'am.
Okay. And has Ms. Tucker been able to provide you with any information regarding his location or anything like that?
She gave me his last known location and I've been researching, so can't find it.
And I believe at the last hearing, you stated that he had been in jail there in Enid, Oklahoma, right? But that was back in November of 2023.
Yes, ma'am. And when I called, he had been released.
Right. Okay. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Ms. Kincaid?
Thank you, Your Honor. Is the child up to date on her medical and dental?
Yes.
Okay. Is she on any prescription medications?
She takes albuterol as needed for asthma.
Okay, but no psychotropic medications?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And how's she doing in school?
She's actually doing very well in school. She's going to speech therapy weekly. It's been helping, and she's improved a lot in her speech and reading.
Okay. Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have further questions for Ms. Cook? No? Ms. Cook, I read in the report that Lesley's current foster placement, they're ending their licensing at, I guess, the end of May. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So she'll have to be moved if she's not going to be home with her mother, she'll have to be moved.
Correct.
Is she aware of that?
Yes, she is aware.
Okay, and I assume she's getting counseling, correct?
She is not currently getting counseling, no, sir.
Okay. Well, I guess if I read that she was pretty close to these foster parents, so if that becomes an issue, we could get her into some counseling to deal with that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. This probably isn't your bailiwick, and I won't even ask it as a question. I'll just point out that I still show that Mr. Childress is an alleged father, so I'm assuming that if we get to a final hearing, we'll have a paternity registry search if we need it. So, yeah. Okay. All right,
Judge,
Mr.
I
Albee.
can assure the court that we've already begun that paternity registry search. So.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you have, because I wanted to give y'all a gold star. You actually filed a motion to extend the case. I usually just read it in the report. So gold stars for everybody.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Albee, any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pirtle, any witnesses?
Or I'd like to call my client, Miss Susan Tucker.
Mr. Pirtle.
Thank you, Judge. State your name, please.
Susan Tucker.
Now, Ms. Tucker, do you want to continue trying to work services?
Yes, sir.
Complete the service. Are you
sir.
still wanting your child placed back with you?
Yes, I do. I want to continue my services.
Yeah. And if the child's not placed back with you, would you like your child placed with this fictive kin placement?
Yes, sir.
All right. I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Albee.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Michelson.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Farrow.
Your Honor, just a couple, please. Ms. Tucker, when was the last time you had any contact with Jason Childress?
Before my daughter was born.
Okay. All right. Do you have any idea of where if he's in Oklahoma or maybe
No, ma'am.
family friends? No? Okay.
No.
So do you have any, do you know any of his family that possibly I could reach out to
No,
that
ma'am.
I could locate him? Okay. All right. And so the last time you had contact with him, was it in Oklahoma?
Oh, yes, ma'am. In Enid.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Ms. Kincaid.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Pirtle, any other witnesses?
No further witnesses, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Michelson, any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lucero.
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Ms. Kincaid.
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Kincaid, recommendations?
Continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the current placement.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ledbetter, Casa, have anything to add?
Nothing to add, Your Honor. We're in agreement with that.
Okay. All right, then I will, as I said, I've granted the department's motion to extend the case and retain the case on the court's docket. I will continue the department as a temporary managing conservator, continue Lesley's current placement, and I will order that Ms. Tucker both hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. I will set the next permanency hearing for August 21st, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of August 21st to see exactly what time. Macias was in the waiting room. She was trying to join, and then looks like she fell out. So I'll go ahead and call the case while we're waiting to see that she comes back. So on a final hearing, Mr. Albee's with us for the department. Ms. Ledbetter is with us for CASA. Mr. Barfield is with us representing the child. Ms. Christie's with us representing the father, Mr. Martinez, who is also with us. And Ms. Grant is with us representing the mother, Ms. Macias. We'll give her a little bit of time to try and get back into the waiting room because she was there way before on time. So we'll take a short break, see if she comes back in the waiting room.
Looks like she's here, Your Honor.
Oh, is she? Oh, yeah,
Yes.
there she is. Okay, sorry. I didn't see that. All right, that accounts for all the parties. I have no one in the waiting room. So, Mr. Albee?
Your Honor, before
Your Honor,
I begin,
Sorry, Todd, go ahead.
before I begin any testimony today, Ms. Grant filed a motion, and I would ask the court to consider that motion before we proceed.
Okay, I haven't seen it, so you're gonna have to tell me what it is.
Ms.
Your
Grant?
Honor, on behalf of the mother, Your Honor, we filed a request for a jury. And I understand, Judge, that under 504.1 that needs to be done 14 days in advance. However, we're asking for leave of court to have that granted because mediation in this case did not occur outside of that 14 days. We mediated this case only 12 days ago. And in mediation, following mediation is when the mother became concerned about the outcome for her custody in this case and would like to request a jury trial.
All right, well, my understanding is this has to be filed 30 days prior to the final hearing, not 14. But are there objections to the jury trial request?
Judge, from our perspective, we were ready for this case to be finalized today, and a jury request at this time would require an extension of the case. The case has not been extended, but it would require an extension, so we will object to the jury trial.
Am I correct that the jury trial request is to be 30 days before the final hearing, or is it 14?
I'm going by
Judge,
TRCP 504.1, Judge, which says demand must be made 14 days before the date the case is set for trial.
Okay, well, can't argue that then. And you're saying the reason it wasn't, what did mediation have to do with your client deciding whether or not to request a jury trial? I mean,
Well, Judge, we went into mediation believing that the parties were much closer to an agreement that was what the mother believes is in the best interest of the child, and mediation went much differently than the mother expected. And so she believes that a jury of her peers would be the best group to understand her issues and what's in the best interest of the child at this point.
Miss Christie, what's your position on the request?
Your Honor, we're present. We're ready for a jury. We're ready for a final hearing today.
All right. Mr. Barfield, on behalf of the child.
I'm requesting a final hearing today.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and deny that request. I think that the jury trial could have been requested and you could still have hopes that it was going to settle at a mediation. So I'm going to deny that request based on the section that Ms. Grant has quoted. I find that the jury trial request was not filed in the requisite amount of time prior to today's hearing. So, okay, again, I have no one else in the waiting room. So, Mr. Albee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would call Ms. Tori Cook. Where is she currently placed?
She's currently with her father in Kansas.
All right. Now, Jazelle is how old?
She's 10.
And when was she placed with her father?
She was placed, sorry, it has been a while. I believe it was June of 2023.
And prior to that, where was she placed?
Prior to that, she was with paternal grandparents in Dumas, Texas.
And it was a very short period of time from the removal of Jazelle from her mother until the child was placed with her father.
Correct. Yeah, I show placement date was June 20th and removal was May 23rd.
Okay. And she has been with her father since June 23rd, but it hasn't always been in Kansas.
Correct.
When did she and Mr. Martinez move to Kansas?
They moved to Kansas, I think official date was March 15th this year. Or sorry, April 15th. Nope, that was wrong. Sorry, March 15th.
So they've only been in Kansas for a short period of time.
Yes, sir.
Are there any special issues or special needs that Jazelle has that we need to make the court aware of today?
No, sir.
Has Mr. Martinez made sure that she's met all of her medical, dental, and mental health needs?
Yes, sir. I believe we're looking for a therapist in Kansas since the move.
Miss Jazelle was with Michaela Macias, the child's mother, when the child was removed.
Correct.
And the court ordered that Miss Macias work family plan of services and services in order to have the child returned to her.
Yes.
And did Miss Macias work those services?
Yes, she worked and completed all services.
Was she diligent in completing those services?
Yes, sir.
Have you or someone from St. Francis Ministries been to her home?
Yes, I have.
Is it appropriate for a 10-year-old child to be in that home?
Yes, sir.
Have you, someone from St. Francis Ministries or someone in Kansas been in the home in Kansas to observe Mr. Martinez's home?
Yes, sir, I have.
And is that home appropriate for Jazelle to continue to reside there?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Martinez also have a family plan of service?
Yes.
And was he asked to complete some services?
Yes, sir.
And did he complete all of the services that he was asked to complete?
They did complete a few. He was supposed to do individual or family counseling. Again, with the provider not taking Star Health, they had to look for another provider, but they did complete, I believe, 3 sessions of family counseling. And then he also completed co-parenting with Miss Macias.
The reasons for the removal didn't necessarily revolve around Mr. Martinez.
No, sir.
Have you reviewed the file and are you aware of the reasons that Jazelle was removed from Miss Macias's home?
Yes.
Would you be able to say that whether or not Miss Macias, in working her services, has alleviated the reasons that Jazelle was removed from the home?
Yes, she is.
You believe she has alleviated those reasons?
Yes, she has alleviated those reasons.
At this time, St. Francis Ministries and the Texas Department of Family Protective Services is ready to be dismissed from this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you don't see any further need for any further monitoring or any further services to be completed by either parent at this time for the best interest of Jazelle?
I do not.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Ron.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cook testified that both homes would be appropriate and that basically everyone's pretty done most of their services, not all. Miss Macias done all. So regardless of where the child is going to end up residing, under Texas law, do you think it would be appropriate to name the parents joint managing conservators since they've both done what was asked?
Judge, we would not have any objection to that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Ms. Grant, questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Ma'am, did you create a plan of service for each parent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you file that plan of service for both parents?
Yes, ma'am.
What services was the mother supposed to complete, if you can just list them quickly?
Sure. Continued contact with me and the department, employment, housing, stability, visitations with Jazelle, parenting classes, drug screens, an OSAR assessment, rational behavior therapy, psychosocial assessment, and individual counseling.
Okay. And through this case, have we had positive drug screens that have caused you any concern?
No, ma'am.
And what, if you can just quickly tell me what services the father was ordered to take?
Yes. Would have been individual or family counseling, also housing and job stability, contact with me as the caseworker. And then the co-parenting was added on after that.
Okay. And how many sessions of counseling did you say he took?
I believe they had 3 family sessions.
And when you say family, did that involve him and his household with the child or the 2 parents and the child?
Him and his household with the child.
Okay. And the child went through a period of time where she refused visitation with mom. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
And what therapy did the child receive during the course of the case?
She did receive individual therapy, both in person and virtual.
And is that considered complete? Has she been released?
She was released and they were going to find another provider just to continue those therapy services.
And what concerns were the reason for the continuation of the services, if you don't mind?
just to further learn coping skills. Therapy was very beneficial for Jazelle.
Okay. In regards to the mother, were there any recommendations after she completed her OSAR that she had to complete?
No, ma'am.
Were there any recommendations from the rational behavior training that she had to add on or complete?
No, ma'am.
Has she broken contact with the other person that was of a concern in this case, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, yes.
You have no reason to believe that that person resides in the home or is living in her home, correct?
Correct.
And does father have his own home or does he live with family?
At this time, he lives with family.
Who does he reside with?
He resides with his wife, Ashley, and her parents.
Okay, so he has appropriate housing. However, it's not his own housing. It's with family. Am I correct in saying that?
At this time, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is he working?
Yes, ma'am.
And is there any reason you can give why he resides with family rather than having a home of his own?
No, I believe they're looking to buy a house of their own.
So just getting situated to make a purchase possibly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in joint managing conservatorship of the two parents, is there any reason why either parent would not be appropriate to have standard possession visitation with the child?
No.
Is there any reason why either parent should be limited in their access to the child or supervised during their access to the child?
No.
Is there any reason why extended summers would be an issue for this kiddo?
No, ma'am.
Okay. If the mother is asking for the child to return to her today as the primary parent, can you give the court any reason why that would not be appropriate?
No, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Cook, can you give the court any reason why it would also not be appropriate to allow the father to establish the child's residence?
No.
Okay. Ms. Christie?
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Macias currently resides with her mother in Cactus, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Miss Macias's plan to stay there indefinitely, or does she have plans to get her own residence, or what is that? What is that plan, if you know?
I'm not aware of that plan. I believe to stay is what she's currently planning.
Do you know who all lives in that house with them?
I am just aware of her and her mother at this time.
And where is Miss Macias currently working?
She's working in Stratford, Texas.
And does she work at the Pilot gas station? Is that right? Is she still employed there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And if you know or can check your records, do you know how many times that CPS has been involved with Miss Macias and Jazelle?
I have this being our first removal. It looks like there are 3 prior that I'm seeing.
Can you tell from your records the 3 other times that CPS was involved? While y'all were involved, Miss Macias worked her services and completed everything that you requested. Is that correct?
Objection. That would be hearsay to this person if it's not an official business record.
Sustained if it's not.
Ms. Cook, are you the keeper of the records for the Department of Family and Protective Services, the records regarding Miss Macias and her child, Jazelle?
I am not.
Have you reviewed all the previous records related to Miss Macias and Jazelle?
I have reviewed what's available to me, yes.
And based on your position as the permanency specialist, that is your job to review the records related to this child and her contacts with the department or what's going on with this child.
Correct.
And are you able to testify about past contacts with Jazelle and Miss Macias?
I can testify to the dates and the allegations, but I was not involved in those.
So, Your Honor, I would have to renew my objection that proper predicate's not been laid and that she said she's not an official keeper of the records.
Well, Ms. Cook, let me ask you also, you work for St. Francis, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the records you reviewed would have been kept by the department, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to sustain that objection, no proper predicate.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. Are you aware of whether or not Miss Macias has a working vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
She does?
Yes, she does.
And do you know if, well, and if you can testify to this, was alcohol a factor in the removal of Jazelle this time?
Yes, that was in the report.
And to your knowledge, did Ms. Macias receive any sort of treatment for her alcohol problem?
We did an OSAR assessment that was completed to see if she needed further services, and there was none recommended.
And so as far as you know, she did not receive any treatment for alcohol.
No, ma'am, it was addressed during her individual counseling.
And there has not been a problem regarding drugs with Ms. Macias. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you know how many times Ms. Macias has visited with Jazelle since the removal?
I know of 4 that were supervised by either me or St. Francis. And then other than that, I can't confirm. They were between dad and mom.
Those 4 visits that you referred to, were those telephone visits?
3 were virtual visits. 1 was in person.
And when was that in-person visit conducted?
It was at the beginning of the case, prior to Jazelle moving to Dallas with the father.
Did you observe that visit?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did that visit go between Jazelle and her mother?
It went very well. They laughed, they played, joked, talked about what was going on.
And did you supervise the virtual visits between Jazelle and her mom?
I have supervised one of them, yes.
And when was that visit that you supervised?
That visit was at the end of March.
And was that Miss Macias's first virtual visit with the child, or what number was that?
Yes, let me make sure it was in the end of March. But yes, that would have been the first virtual visit.
And at that first virtual visit, did Miss Macias have her family on the line with her, and did they all visit with Jazelle?
Not the entirety of the visit. I'd say about 10, 15 minutes of that visit.
And did you stop the visit at that time?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Jazelle was very interested in reconnecting with her family and having contact with them.
And the next 3 virtual visits that Jazelle had with her mom, have those gone well?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And did you monitor those? You did not monitor those visits?
No, ma'am.
But you received notes or updates about the visits?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you, and I'm not sure what your position is or what you do as a permanency specialist, but have you visited with Jazelle since the move to Kansas?
Yes, ma'am.
And does she appear to be doing well in Kansas with her father and his family?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you asked Mr. Martinez about his plans to move into his own residence, or what his plans are as far as living in Kansas?
Yes, ma'am.
And did he state to you that he is looking to buy a house?
Yes, he did.
Did he give you any sort of a timeline about when he thought that would occur?
He said he was just hoping soon. I think he said within the next couple of weeks or month.
But you don't know if he's made an offer on anything or if anything is currently pending?
Not at this time.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Barfield.
I don't have any questions, Judge.
Okay. Anyone else have further questions for Ms. Cook?
No, Your Honor.
I have a couple of follow-ups, Judge.
Okay.
Ms. Cook, what was the father's involvement with Jazelle prior to the removal, if you know?
I know that they had the standard possession agreement. I believe he came during holidays, but I'm not sure other than that.
So you believe that he was exercising holidays mainly, but not necessarily the entire order, or you don't know?
I'm not certain.
Thank you. And as far as the visitation with Jazelle and the questions that Ms. Christie asked you with all the visitation, is it true that the visitation has been largely controlled by Jazelle at this point due to her therapy?
Yes, up until we started virtual visits by St. Francis.
Okay, and the therapist and Jazelle kind of steered the contact with the mother and Jazelle's readiness for that. Would you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you agree that we're over that speed bump now with Jazelle in her desire to do visitation, and she willingly expresses her opinions about it?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you believe Jazelle would tell either parent if she was not comfortable with a certain visitation plan?
I do.
and she's able to advocate for herself. Would you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Pass the witness, Judge.
Anyone else have other questions? All right. Ms. Cook, has Jazelle has she expressed any opinion to you as to who she wants to live with?
No, sir. When I talked to her, she just said that she was really comfortable where she was in Kansas and she really liked it there. But that she did miss mom.
Okay. All right. All right, then. If no other questions, any other questions for Ms. Cook? Mr. Albee, did you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, I would rest.
All right, Ms. Grant, witnesses.
Judge, I would call Michaela Macias,
Thank
please.
you.
And where do you currently reside?
I live at my mother's home here in Cactus.
And how long have you resided there?
Since the middle of May.
Okay. And your current job, how's that going?
It's going very well.
Do you like it? And your attendance is good and you're...
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have a working vehicle?
I do, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it difficult for you to travel to Dallas and Kansas when Jazelle is so far away?
I mean, I would make it work. It's
Okay.
just, that's quite a distance.
Okay. If you have to travel, would you be asking that perhaps the judge order alternating ways to meet halfway or something to that effect?
Yes, that'd be helpful on my end.
Okay. But you'll make it work either way, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it, tell me what you feel about your reconnection with Jazelle and how that's going.
It's going very well. But she tells me all the time about how she misses me, misses seeing me every day. Sometimes she'll get emotional, and I do believe that she misses being here with me.
Okay. And can you tell me what type of visitation the father and Jazelle had prior to the removal?
They've always had a very good bond with each other. They would talk to each other. You know, when he'd want to speak to her, I'd let him call her or let her call him.
Do you believe that the co-parenting class that the two of you took together has been helpful in this case?
Our co-parenting was never really an issue. So, I mean, we already had that down. We've never had any issue with co-parenting in the past.
So you guys can speak well and make arrangements well in regard to Jazelle with whatever the court orders, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're asking the court today to place Jazelle primarily with you. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm hoping for.
And is it your belief that that is what Jazelle wants?
I do believe. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. That needs to be the whole question. Is that your belief that what Jazelle wants?
I do feel in my heart that that's something that she would like.
Okay. Have you had any issues with alcohol or any alcohol related arrests or anything since this case began?
No, ma'am.
Have you been staying away from alcohol completely?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you had any issues or arrests associated with drugs or illegal substances during this case?
No, ma'am.
Have those been an issue for you in the past?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Have you completely cut ties with the person that lived in the home that Jazelle did not like?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that person returning in any way, shape, or form into Jazelle's life?
No, ma'am.
And that's one of the reassurances that Jazelle needs and wants from you. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I have to ask you, should the judge decide to leave Jazelle in Kansas, what are you asking for? Are you asking for standard possession order?
I would like for her to come back home. I mean,
right. But if the judge were to decide that she is going to primarily stay with dad, are you asking for extra visitation? Or are you asking for standard possession order? What do you want the judge to give you if he doesn't give you primary?
I would like extra visitation. I would like all the visitation I can get.
So maybe longer summers due to the distance in between and so forth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you believe that that Jazelle is ready to reconnect with you and that some more time will reestablish the bond as it was prior to this case beginning?
Yes.
And that's what you wanted the judge to know?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you'd like to tell the judge in regard to why you believe Jazelle should live primarily with you?
We've always been, she was always in my care. And so it's just something I want to reestablish. We never were apart from each other until this happened. And so I'm hoping to, if I don't get her back primarily, then I'm hoping to at least get as much of visitation that I can with her.
Okay, would it help you to do a 50-50 plan and not pay child support since you'll have to travel to see her? Would that be helpful to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll pass this witness, Judge.
All right, Mr. Albee?
I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Christie?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Macias, is this the first time that you've been involved with CPS since you and Mr. Martinez separated?
No, it's not.
You've had how many family-based service plans with CPS since you and Mr. Martinez separated?
I've had one that I remember.
Just one other time?
I've had 3 other cases, yes.
Well, in those 3 other cases that you've had with CPS, while CPS was involved with you, you did very well and followed all the rules. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And like in this case, while CPS has been involved, you've done very well and you've done what they've asked of you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is the lady's name that you were living with before Jazelle was removed?
Susan Tucker?
Do you and Miss Tucker still have Facebook contact?
No.
When was the last time that you had Facebook contact with Miss Tucker?
I'm not sure.
When was the last time that you talked to Miss Tucker?
I mean, it's been probably weeks.
And when you say weeks, are we talking 2 weeks, 3 weeks, more than that?
I don't really speak to her anymore. I mean,
are you telling the court that you've severed all ties with Miss Tucker?
Yes.
Do you have a Facebook account?
Yes, I do.
And is Miss Tucker one of your friends on your Facebook account?
I have her blocked on my Facebook account.
Alcohol was a factor in this removal of Jazelle. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you believe you have a problem with alcohol, Miss Macias?
No, ma'am, I've overcome that.
And when you say that you've overcome it, what treatment did you receive to overcome your problem with alcohol?
I didn't complete any treatment program, but I've just been working hard towards it. And I have a very good family support system that helps me every day.
Have you ever gone to treatment for your alcohol problem?
No, ma'am.
And when you say that you're working hard, what exactly does that entail? Do you go to AA?
I don't know, ma'am.
Do you go to an addiction counselor?
No.
Right. The CPS, did you hear, not the CPS worker, but the permanency specialist, Ms. Cook, testify that you addressed your alcohol problem in your court-ordered counseling?
Yes.
How long has it been since you've had a drink?
Since May 1st.
Of last year?
Well, when I got arrested, yes, ma'am.
Oh, it's not May 1st yet. Oh, today's May 1st. I'm sorry. I'm so confused. So last year, May the 1st of 2023, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was very confused. So sorry. I get confused on the year. That's bad. Okay. So what are your future plans as far as your housing is concerned?
I do plan on getting my own place. I was just staying here. I bought myself a car so that way I have my own reliable transportation. I've just been saving my money and I was just waiting to see how this goes. And that way I can look into my own place soon.
Do you drive to Stratford to work every day?
Yes, ma'am.
What hours do you work?
I work 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday.
And how long have you worked at the Pilot?
I have been there since August of last year.
And what do you do?
I work maintenance there.
Does Miss Tucker work there as well?
No, ma'am.
Does Miss Tucker still live in Stratford?
No.
Does she live in Dalhart?
No, ma'am.
Do you know where she lives?
Last I knew she lived in Oklahoma.
All right. So prior to Jazelle's removal from you, Alvaro Martinez, her father, he was living in Dallas. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And as far as you know, well, Mr. Martinez saw Jazelle when she was at his parents' house. Is that right?
Yes.
And you have or did have a good relationship with Mr. Martinez's parents. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I always have.
And they live in Dumas, correct?
Yes.
And do you still think that you have a good relationship with Mr. Martinez's parents?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Mr. Barfield?
I have no questions, Judge.
All right. And Mr. Albert, I didn't skip you, did I? You didn't have questions?
You did not skip me, and I did not have any questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Grant, did you have any other witnesses?
Your Honor, I'll call Alvaro Martinez.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, if you'd raise your right hand, please. You swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Grant.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Martinez, you heard some testimony about your intention to purchase a home, did you not?
Correct.
Is that something that's coming up very soon?
Yes, ma'am.
What are your plans
I'm currently.
there?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay.
I'm currently working with a lender. To get my credit is about 5 points away from qualifying for what's known as the USDA loan.
Okay.
And because Kansas is a rural area, we qualify for a lot of homes here. We're just working on kind of getting that credit score up about 5 more points. We have a home picked out. We've already been talking with the homeowners, and we've made an offer. It's just kind of contingent on the lender, and he just wants to see my credit score go up about 5 more points. So that way it's a little easier for us to deal with the USDA.
Okay, so it's fair to say you're in progress of doing that, correct?
Yes, yes.
All right. Do you have any issue with co-parenting with Michaela?
No, me and Michaela have always been able to talk, whether it's through text, over the phone, concerning Jazelle.
Okay, and how's Jazelle doing in school?
All right, I think he froze.
I was trying to figure out if it was me or him, so I was wiggling around. How is Jazelle doing in school?
She's doing very well.
And is she in any extracurricular activities?
Yeah, she's currently enrolled in softball here at the City Rec Center. She's going to be starting that soon. And she was doing cheer classes, but we put that on hold since softball season is starting. And we're going to have her just kind of focus on one sport at a time to see if she really likes the softball and go from there.
So whether she lived with you or Miss Macias, would her extracurricular activity be something that the judge would need to have both of you consider when doing visitation so she could make her games?
I would like to ask the court that they do consider that, Your Honor. Your Honor, Ms. Grant, I'm sorry.
That's okay. The judge knew who you were talking to.
I did. I did ask Miss Macias's opinion before we enrolled her in softball. We both agreed that if Jazelle wanted to do it, it would be something good for her. And so I would ask that the court consider that.
Okay. And are you willing to work with Miss Macias for you guys to exchange the child for whoever is doing visitation, whether it be her giving you visits or vice versa?
Yes.
Do you work a full-time schedule?
Yes.
What time of day do you work?
9:30 to about 6:30 a.m.
Oh, so you work overnights?
Yes. At this
Okay.
time, yeah.
Okay. Where do you work at, sir?
Campac.
Okay. Is that like a packing company?
We make muscle milk, Starbucks, coffees, coffee creamer, and things of that nature.
Oh, okay. Starbucks. Well, we all want to be your friend then. Who's with Jazelle when you're working? Are you remarried or is it a girlfriend?
I am married.
Okay, so your wife, do her and Jazelle get along well?
Absolutely.
Okay. Does Jazelle have any siblings in your home?
No, Jazelle is an only child at this time.
Okay. Is there any reason why you feel that either your visitation or Miss Macias's visitation should be limited in any way outside of who is the primary parent?
So the only thing that I have asked for is that regarding to this first summer is that we split it 2 weeks in June and 2 weeks in July, just given the fact that Miss Macias hasn't been able to be alone with Jazelle. And so it kind of gives Jazelle a chance to ease back into being with her full time again. But again, that would only be this summer. And then moving forward, everything would go into either extended summers or full summers.
I understand. Does softball extend through the summer, sir?
As far as I know, it just goes into the month of June. We have a coaches meeting this week, and I believe we are establishing the full schedule this week.
Okay. And will she be playing what I refer to as club ball? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say club ball?
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure if they are considered a club or not.
Okay. Okay. But she's playing through the school right now for sure, right?
It's not through the school. It's actually through our city's recreational center.
I understand. Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you, Mr. Alvey.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Christie?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Martinez, how long are we looking at for your credit to be approved for this USDA loan? Are we looking at months? Are we looking at, I mean, what's the timeline on that?
As far as the credit goes, excuse me, I'm looking at like the next 60 days for I have some company working on my credit score. And they've told me within the next 60 days, I'll be well over where I need to be. And so the lender, it's like I told the lender, my goal is to be closing on a home by the end of summer, by the end of July. So with it being May, maybe 3 months or so, and we will be my goal is to be closing on a home.
All right. And so the house that you currently live in, does Jazelle have her own space there?
She does.
All right. And that's appropriate for Jazelle.
Yeah, she has her own bedroom, bathroom right across the hall, plenty of food in the fridge.
And just to be clear, you are wanting Jazelle to stay with you and for you to be the primary custodian of Jazelle. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Miss Grant asked you about club ball. Jazelle's not traveling anywhere for this baseball, is she?
Again, at this time, I can't answer that honestly, as I don't have the schedule yet. But I do believe if it's travel, it's gonna be here within the area within an hour. It's not like 6 hours away to Kansas City or anything of that nature. It's all pretty well local.
All right. And just trying to clarify that, because that club ball is a whole nother thing where, I mean, it's a
Correct.
whole, and you don't think that it's that, right?
No, I believe if there is travel, it may be to Winfield, which is, I think, at max 20-30 minutes away. Wellington, same thing, 20-30 minutes, and Wichita is 45 minutes away. If they send them that far, but I believe it's local ball.
When does Jazelle get out of school?
May 16th.
In your opinion, and how is Jazelle doing in school? I don't know if anybody asked you that yet, but how does she do in school?
She's doing fantastic. I just want to expound on her math grade. She's pretty much top of her class here on math. She went from bringing home, low 70s. Now she's bringing home hundreds on mostly everything. We hear nothing but good things from her teachers.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You had a math tutor for her in the Dallas area. Is that right?
Yeah, she was going to tutoring there at her magnet school.
But she's all caught up now and she's doing well in school.
Yes, she's ahead of most of the other kids here.
Now, Mr. Martinez, if the judge were to order that Jazelle live primarily with you and that Miss Macias have standard visitation, you understand that Miss Macias can choose to have visitation every weekend with Jazelle. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. And you are able to work with Miss Macias to work out those visitation times, and y'all can work it out between yourselves and get those visitation periods figured out. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. Now, Kansas, the place that you live, Arkansas City, Kansas, is the same distance from Dumas from Cactus as Dallas was. Is that right?
From Cactus, I'm not sure. Dumas, I know it's a little shorter. So I can't tell you from Cactus. I've never driven from Cactus.
All right. I'm just talking about distance wise for the travel for you two.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
All right.
It's actually an hour. It's actually an hour shorter.
All right. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Barfield.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Anyone have follow-ups for Mr. Martinez?
Just one, Judge.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Martinez, when Miss Christie asked you about weekends, I believe she said every weekend, but you understand it's every first, third, and fifth weekend, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I've had standard visitation. I figured that's what it was.
Okay, I just want to make, and that's doable for you, true?
Yes.
Okay, pass the witness, Judge.
Anyone else? Mr. Martinez, you testified that you work overnight, but I don't know that anybody asked you who takes care of Jazelle while you're at work.
My wife.
Does she work also?
She does during the day while Jazelle is at school.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Grant, any other witnesses?
No, Judge, the mother rests.
All right. Ms. Christie?
No witnesses, Your Honor. The father rests.
Thank you. Mr. Barfield?
No witnesses, just a recommendation.
All right. Then Mr. Barfield, recommendations.
My recommendation is that the department be dismissed out of the case, that the father be named primary conservator of the child in regards to visitation, I believe a standard possession order would be okay. However, I would recommend perhaps some split custody this summer, maybe 2 weeks at one period of the summer with another break with another 2 weeks, just to kind of get the bonding with mom back and not make it as long a period. It's the court's decision. I think that would be in the best interest of this child based on how she's doing.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ledbetter, CASA.
Yes, Judge. At this time, we have no opinion of where Jazelle should be placed. We do recommend that whichever parent is not in primary custody get the standard visitation order.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then based upon what I've heard today, then I'm going to name the parents joint managing conservators with Mr. Martinez having the right to establish the child's residence. I'll order that Ms. Macias have standard, and I'll admit this, I haven't been in a true family law like a divorce case in 13 years, but if it's the way it was, I'm going to order that Ms. Macias have standard visitation for parents residing over 100 miles away with any and all elections that she can make. She can choose what election she makes. I'm going to order Ms. Macias's child support be set based on minimum wage. I didn't hear any evidence as to what she makes, and considering the distance for visitation, I think that's appropriate. And I'll order that Ms. Macias, let me ask, I forgot to ask you, Mr. Martinez, if you'd unmute.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have Jazelle on any kind of health insurance, or is she still on Medicaid or Medicare?
She at this time is still on she at this time is still on Medicaid, as I'm in the 90-day waiting process.
Okay, all right. Then I'll order that Ms. Macias pay medical reimbursement of $25 per month, or she can elect to provide the insurance herself. The department and all other court-appointed relationships will be dismissed after all appellate and de novo periods have expired. Since we have a final resolution, there'll be no further hearing set, which I'm sure y'all are happy to not have to see me again. I want to applaud both of you for how you've co-parented. It's a breath of fresh air in this court, to be honest. And I would just suggest that this, the way I look at this, the standard possession order, that's just a kind of what if y'all get crossways. Seems like you guys have done a really good job, and I'm not going to say, I'm just going to give her standard possession. If any part of that doesn't work for y'all, please feel free to do whatever works for y'all, because it's going to be in Jazelle's best interest, and I think you both have that at heart. So I applaud both of you for what you've done. Okay, that will conclude this hearing. This scheduled for final hearing, but my understanding is we're going to hear this as a permanency hearing today, as we don't have a dismissal date until August 5th. So Mr. Albie's with us for the department. Ms. Ledbetter and her advocate are with us for CASA. Ms. Christie is with us representing the children. Ms. Naranjo is with us representing the mother, Maria Perez Chahaya. Ms. Naranjo also represents the father, Transito Perez Hernandez. We have an unknown father that's obviously not with us, and I believe that's all the parties. I don't have anybody in the waiting room. Let's see, we've got Ms. Sass with us to interpret. Ms. Sass, I'll go ahead and enable the interpretation feature. While we're waiting on this, Ms. Naranjo, I read the report, and they were just asking that the CPS and CASA recommended the department remains temporary managing conservator and continue all the children's current placements. That's what I read in the report. That's where I got that from.
Okay, we hadn't understood because we saw it as a final still on the docket, Judge, and we are opposed to the temporary managing conservatorship continuing. The children have been home for 3 months at this point, and the only child that needs to be returned is Michaela. And I understood that per the department's plan at the prior hearing that they were working on having her have one-on-one parenting with Isaac, which has now been going on also for 3 months. And so I don't think there's anything in the report indicating any reason that Michaela shouldn't be returned home at this point and have that case be dismissed. And then the department can continue monitoring for any concerns regarding Isaac and Michaela in their own case.
Okay. Well, Mr. Albie, you can respond. At our last hearing on February 7th, I set this as a final today.
Okay. Judge, what Ms. Naranjo is saying is correct as far as it goes. The child, Isaac, has been placed with Michaela. We were not ready to return her home since she's still bonding with the child. I think that's what the testimony will be. And we will do what the court tells us to do.
Let's get Sixta's deal figured out first. I tell you what, let me just open a breakout room and let all the lawyers talk for a second. I'm going to, the lawyers and I have talked about where we're at today. I've agreed with Ms. Naranjo that this was set as a final and nobody filed a motion to make it a permanency. So we're going to treat it as a final. The lawyers, we have hopefully what we think might be a resolution. So I'm going to put Mr. Albee in with Mr. Albee. Who do you want? Kristen and who else?
Kristen and Nicole, Your Honor.
Nicole.
All right, Judge, I'm back.
Okay, I think everybody's back. Do the lawyers need to talk again, or?
Judge, we don't. I would ask to be able to put Nicole on briefly to explain why we are still wanting not to send Michaela home. I've explained what the court's position is and what Ms. Naranjo's position is. So we want to put on the record why we have some concerns.
Judge, because we're having some testimony, when I went to go speak with my clients, they did let me know they still can't hear Sixta.
Okay, that's a problem. Sixta, can you hear us? Haley, do you got any ideas here? I don't see Haley.
I can hear you, Your Honor, and I am connected with the Kiche channel. Is there a phone number that I could call them on, perhaps, as an alternative method?
Yes, we can do that. What's a good number to call you by, Sixta, if you could message?